Nigeria's economy depends on petroleum, accounting for 90% of its export and one-third of its GDP. According to the World Bank, subsidy payments could significantly impact public finance and pose debt sustainability concerns in Nigeria. As the new administrations get set to take over the reign of government in Nigeria, the discuss over subsidy removal comes to the fore. At the NEC meeting held on Thursday, Council Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, said the NEC, which comprises state governors, deliberated on the issue extensively and came to the conclusion that it would not be wise to remove subsidy as soon as the new administration is trying to settle down to governance. The question that is begging for answer now is, when is the right time for subsidy removal? What then happens to the secured $800 million World Bank loan gotten specifically for the subsidy removal?
Selling at maybe 194 at the moment. If you remove subsidy completely, let's say you remove subsidy completely, it means that there's a high chance supply will cease for maybe some certain extent, maybe for 6 months, 1 year, thereabout. You should expect that people will be given license to bring in this product. But Nigerian economy is somehow funny. You don't get that playing, prominence, because if you allow the economy to free flow or free interaction between demand and supply.
Yeah, it is good to have you back. The question on the mind of a lot of people, the 800 million subsidy, the $800 million that's supposed to cushion the effect of subsidy removal. What are we going to do with it? And now we are joined by Paul Alaje, who is going to be joining us live from Lagos, a senior economist, SPM professionals. Many thanks for joining us at this time.
Yeah, thank you so very much for having me. A beautiful evening to you.
So now, on to the topic of the day. This question has been on the lips of a lot of people, like the palliative, the $800 million palliative that was gotten from the SIP that is supposed to help cushion the effect of subsidy removal. And now that this present administration have decided to push that to the next administration, what are we supposed to do with that money? Are we supposed to return it or use it for another thing?
Well, in the first instance, collecting that money was very unnecessary. When the news broke that Nigeria has gone collecting another $800 million, I have asked questions. In fact, in our organization, we've asked for what purpose. The purpose, according to authorities, was to share the $800 million among 50 million Nigerians. Approximately, we are talking of $16 per head. And you convert that, whichever rate you want to use, you are talking between 7,000 to 8,000 naira for subsidy removal. It's either the authority did not know the enormosity or the impact of subsidy removal on everybody, including you and me. The government understand the impact. It's not a case of what $800 million. And we have since advised, on different platforms that the $800 million is either returned so that it doesn't accumulate any interest, or such money should be passed for other important projects that is much needed in our country today.
Is this something you feel the incoming government will be able to execute smoothly, or might we run into other problems that it's going to be postponed on and on again? And also, how long do we need to keep postponing it? Is it not best to get it over with?
2012, President Jonathan gave us a New Year's speech. His New Year's speech was not welcoming. The president's speech, talking about Goodluck Jonathan, was on the removal of subsidy. Little did he know that for the next 14 to 16 days, several streets and roads in Nigeria will be occupied by those who now occupy power. Goodluck Jonathan lost the goodwill of the people because of that announcement, among other things. Here is it. Head of state and President Ibrahim Babangida tried to remove subsidy completely, but he couldn't. Abacha, talking about the military head of state, tried to remove it, he couldn't. Abdul Salami or President Olusegun Obasanjo, talking about President Jonathan, and now a military head of state and a civilian president, just like President Obasanjo, we are talking of no other person but Muhammadu Buhari. He have decided to kick the can down the road. Why is it difficult for them? It is difficult for them because, unlike what we can tell people, that when we deregulate the diesel market, for those of you that are using diesel tank, go and convert it to petrol. What do you tell people to convert their tank to gas? How cheap is gas? How affordable is gas? So here is the issue. Authorities have not provided for subsidy to be removed. Only the government can give us the time that subsidy will be removed. But the citizens will know if government is ready to remove subsidy or not. And let me tell you, the reason why subsidy cannot be removed, I will explain to you, and I hope that those that are watching, they understand this explanation. One of the things we are paying for, and if you ask me, more than 70% of what we call subsidy today, it is maladministration, poor economic policy, and weak monetary policy. I'll summarize that into what I call the exchange rate. In 2015, what was Naira to dollar? Official rate, 199, parallel market rate, 350, 360. In 2023, when government is proposing to remove subsidy, exchange rate at official window has since gone worse than 460, and parallel market worse than 750. Now, what's the difference? If exchange rate were to be what we had in 2015, let me ask you, are we still paying subsidy? If we are buying fuel at 195, the reason why we are paying subsidy today is because you now need more Naira to purchase a liter. So if our policies, our economy was stable, there will be no need. And let me ask you, do you know any Nigerian, other than those that are in authorities, central bank, and those in government, that influence what happens to exchange rates? What kind of policy direction are we giving the economy? So it is totally outside the control of the people, totally outside it. What therefore must be done? What must be done therefore is to look at what is the stimulant for the supply side. There is no stimulant locally. All imports, in fact, 1 liter, if you take a soft drink, as small as that bottle, we don't produce it here in petroleum, in PMS. What we therefore need to do is to allow local refineries to work. We have 4 of them. We have in Warri, we have in Port Harcourt, and we have in Kaduna. None of them is producing. But over the years, government have been spending billions and billions to pay staff that are producing zero output. Again, government have been spending billions on billions for turnaround maintenance when there is no progress. It is very disturbing. It is very worrisome. And any well-meaning Nigerian will not support this kind of argument that don't worry, when we in the long run, everything will be fine. Economics, and I'm talking of globally recognized economics, some of the school of thought with which some of us who are economists have joined. You know, the Keynesian school of thought. I've proven it beyond reasonable doubt to classical that in the long run, we are all dead. There is no time to long run. Long run can be 1 year, long run can be 500 years. In the long run, we are all dead. So we cannot say government intervention when government has not provided for foundation. Let me say the foundation, because I don't know how much time I have. What is the foundation for subsidy removal? Number 1 is local refineries must work. And it will not be one refinery owned by private sector person, because it will mean that we are surrendering 215 million people's destiny to the hand of one board of directors. I don't think that would be right. But there must be competition so that we don't take away subsidy and we leave people in the hand of a monopolist. That would be very dangerous for us to do. So what we need to do is to allow those refineries to work by giving them to the hand of private sector. And I don't think government is ready to do that even till the end of this year. And what you see is that even the next government will not come and abruptly remove subsidy. At best, what government will do is to perhaps increase how much we are paying per liter while government shoulder the rest. Why? Because the fault, the reason, the cause of existence of policy, number 1, is poor and weak policy. Inability to manage the economy. If exchange rate had been static, 199 will be fair to pay as Nigerians. But that said, What again should government do? If you remove subsidy today, one of the things you see immediately is what I call food inflation. I don't know how much you bought a bag of rice in 2015, but if you remember that a bag of rice was approximately 8,700. How much is a bag of rice today? 35,000. By what percentage does that increase? That is the impact of food inflation. Apply the same thing on beans, apply it on maize, apply it on all food, including garri elubo, and every other thing. Apply it, please. And for people that are viewing, your same life, the same you, any certain amount in 2016, in 2010, by how much has your income increased and how much has the price of food, food prices increased? These are questions we must answer. So if government has not provided means such that there will be policies to ensure inflation does not have impact on food, then we can talk about subsidy. But as far as we have checked as economists, that those policies are not in place. One of the things we should do is to consider narrow gauge. Nigeria Railway Corporation has two lines. We have the narrow gauge and we have the standard gauge. Consider the narrow gauge, which is the old railway line. Connect them to food producing zones. It can't go everywhere, but you go to most places. Connect them to food producing zones such that when output is made, it can go into this rail line and bring them to villages, to towns, and to cities. That is very important. If not, we'll be playing with fire already. Inflation in Nigeria, headline inflation is 22%. They're saying something.
We do not have much time, but we truly appreciate your inputs on the show, and sincerely hope that the right ears would have listened to this and they will start taking action to make sure that we do not have a full-blown crisis at hand. Many thanks for being with us on Firecrackers today. And that's
thank you so very much for having me.
He is a senior economist at SPM Professionals. And very quickly, I'd like to sample your opinion on this whole subsidy, palliative getting, and all that. Let's say when this new administration comes in, what are you expecting for them to do in terms of this fuel subsidy?
Well, I think I am not in any progressive, expectation of what this government is likely. I don't think progressive of this incoming administration, because I've never thought of such for the outgoing administration. So I have no illusion in the fact that they won't be able to do anything magical, because they really do not understand. As the brother pointed out, they really don't understand not that they don't understand, they do understand, but they intentionally do not want to create economic policies that will advance the state of the mass of the people living in this country. And the oil subsidy question explains it all. How can you in fact begin to think of removing subsidy when in actual fact you haven't done the appropriate things? It is intentional, and that is why I really do not keep any illusion whatsoever in the corridors of these people, because they intentionally kill the refineries. They intentionally do not want the refineries to run, because for the refineries to run would mean that their access to accumulation of wealth will be prohibited. So they don't want that. They don't want our refineries, because that's about the easiest solution to this. But the easiest solution is not the interest for them, clearly, because again, you do not place them to the corridor of accumulation. But we must also state that just like we're contrary to what Bora said around the question of competition, we cannot give room. And I think that I find that confusing in a way, because if you are saying that the government should take over the control of the production and also the consumption and the direction of the entirety of the affairs of the oil sector. Therefore, where does the question of competition comes in? Because it is absolutely irrelevant, because when you are talking about sectors that deals with the livelihoods of the people, you cannot even allow any idea of competition to creep in, because that's counterproductive. Because you are talking about the provision of social amenities. Tell me what you can operate in this country today without not having to deal with fuel, without not, production in this country today is synonymous to, the existence of fuel.
Yes.
If you have scarcity of it, the entirety of the economy will collapse. We've seen that in several situations.
Yes, many thanks for sharing your opinion with us. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us here on Firecrackers
It's a pleasure.
today. And that's Dr. Temitope Fagunwa, National Coordinator, Parkour, Lagos, Nigeria. Many thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll also thank Professor Babafemi Badejo, who joined us live from Ogun State, former head of political affairs, UNAMID. And from this place, we'll be drawing the curtain close on today's episode of Firecracker. It has really been enlightening and very educative. My name is Reba Misalako. See you same time, same station next week.